Alright, so welcome back to day 2 of Project Diesel Heater, I guess. So, went to the store first thing this morning, got me a grommet so that I can, get the fuel line protected from basically what's going to be exposed metal edges when we have to run it back from the bottom of the van up into the fuel tank. So I think it's probably the last component that I need to get this going. We've got a little space heater sitting here helping keep us warm while we're working in here because it's still a wee bit chilly out. So let's get going. Alright, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and test fit the heater into the hole. I mean, we've already test fitted it, yeah. But what I want to start figuring out now is where I'm going to put the hole to bring the fuel line back into the van. There. Air goes in this side, comes out that side, and that's the direction we want it to go. So very important that we get it in the correct direction. Alright, so now on the bottom, the air intake is going to be on this side, the exhaust pipe is going to be on this side, the fuel line is going to be somewhere right around here. So when I run the fuel line underneath and back in, I'm going to want to run the fuel line, so coming off of the diesel heater, I want to try to take that fuel line away from the direction of that exhaust tubing, so that way there's no risk of it contacting the exhaust and melting a hole in the fuel line. So I think we're going to, when the fuel line comes off the diesel heater, we're going to run it this way and then have it come up probably somewhere right over here. Have it come up right around there, and then we'll just run it around the edge of the diesel heater, probably up the fender well here, because I'm thinking, there we go. So that's going to be on the wall there. The fuel line's going to come out the bottom to the fuel filter, which is then going to go to the fuel pump, which is going to be mounted somewhere right on the wall here, and then the fuel line will just come up into that. And that's kind of the idea. Alright, so here we got the fuel line. I think this is the grommet we're going to use right here, so I just want to make sure that that's going to be a nice fit. Perfect. So for reference, that's actually a 1/4 inch grommet. So for a 1/4 inch grommet, we're going to want to put a 3/8 inch hole. And there it is, the hole for the fuel line. Alright, so now that we have our hole, I'm going to go ahead and hop under there, hit it with some rattle can primer, just because there's exposed metal there, and then go ahead and seat the grommet on, start getting stuff hooked up. We're getting close. Hopefully you can see that. Hopefully this goes on easy. There it goes. I'm just going to work that all the way on, like so. Then I'm just going to find that little butterfly thing, whatever it is, the clamp, let it run all the way down there. We're going to take needle nose pliers, spread it, drop it, release it. just like that. All right, so now we're going to take all this stuff and drop it back down into the hole. Just like that. All right, now I'm going to take the grommet, we'll go underneath, see if I can get it seated into the bottom side of that hole, and then get the fuel line run back up. And there you have it. Grommet is seated. It's actually a nice tight fit under there. Just pulling tubing up through the hole. Just going out and taking a look to make sure that I'm not over pulling it, because I don't want this rubbing against anything. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a droop, and I'll show you once I get this positioned kind of where I want it, how I've got it. Alright, so there's the underside. Everything coming out the bottom there. I'm glad I went with the longer turret plate. The other one was about half that deep and it wouldn't have punched all the way through. So there's the fuel line. So you can see I still got gap there. The only thing that's going up against is the air intake. And then there's our grommet and the fuel line going into the van. So now that that's done, it's time to get our fuel pump. Okay, so fuel flow, I don't know if you can see that or not, but the fuel flow is going from left to right. So the fuel's going to come out on the side of the switch. Okay, so that's going to go somewhere around there. This is the fuel filter. Fuel's going to come in on the clear side, out the blue side. So we'll have that on there, and it's all going to go into the fuel tank, which is going to be mounted somewhere roughly right there. Okay, so we got this guy here for mounting the fuel pump, and I think these might be for the exhaust, to run the exhaust. They're not quite big enough for the filter. So the filter is just going to kind of free hang for a little bit, I think. Might pick up something to try to mount that later. So these are for the underside for attaching, routing the exhaust up under the body. So we'll set those aside for now. So we're going to go ahead and get this guy put on, which from what I understand isn't the easiest thing in the world to do. Alright, so I ended up doing it off camera just to so I could get a little bit more leverage on it, because it was quite tight getting it into that mounting whatever. So we've got that on. So now I'll find me a screw. I'm going to go ahead and get that attached to the wall. Alright, so we want to put this at about a 30-degree angle. So if we go to roughly 45 and come back just a little bit, that should be pretty close. There we are. Alright, now we're going to take our fuel tubing and just kind of throw it around here and really kind of get an idea of whereabouts we're going to do this. I'm thinking probably right about there. So we're just going to take and cut the tubing like so. Pull the cap off. Take some of our handy dandy soapy water. Just put a little bit on the fingertips, give it a spread, and then just rub it on the tip a little bit. Grab another clamp. The clamp on the tube, and put the tube on the pump. And actually, as I look at this, one thing I realized I did wrong is while this is sitting at a 30-degree angle, it's 30 degrees the wrong direction. We actually need to be 30 degrees that direction. So we're going to go 45-ish, come back just a notch. And there we go. Alright, so I don't think that's getting on there much more than that. So grab that clamp. Bring it back up and around. And on it goes. Wet the tip. Put on the fuel line. All the way to the tank. I think this one we're going to kind of just seat right there. Okay. So put one down here in the bottom. Give everything a check. Still get the fill cap off. Should be able to get a fuel nozzle. You may notice I put it at a slight rear facing angle, just very slight. That way fuel gets low, it's not puddling up in this end. We want it going down to that end where the actual fuel is, where the fuel lines are. Now go back to running fine. So we're going to have that coming up like this. So the fuel filter, which is probably just going to be bumming around on that wheel well for a while until we can get it up. And I want to give it a little bit of room so that way if we do ever decide to mount that, we can. So I'm just going to go ahead and give this a cut. That's that. Okay. So here's the rest of our remaining fuel line. We'll keep that around just in case we need it. Give a cut here. Grab some more clamps. Some water. About both sides this time. Okay, there it is. Fuel system done. Alright, so now it's time to fasten up the undercarriage. Get the intake and exhaust pipes all tied up and fastened, and then it's off to town to get some diesel. Get a little bit more electrical wires so I can get the wires run to where I need them to run. Then it's test time. Alright, so doing the undercarriage was a little bit of a pain in the ass, and it was really tight, so I didn't get any recordings of that. But anyway, so the undercarriage is all secured up. Everything's mostly wired up except for connecting it to actual power. In order to complete that, I need to get some more black wire. I need a longer negative wire because the wire that came with it's about a foot, maybe a foot and a half long, and I need it to be longer than that to get to my solar fuse box or to get to my power station, whichever way I end up deciding to do this for now. So we're gonna head to town, get some more supplies, put a little bit of diesel into the tank. Then we'll come back, get it all wired up, and hope to hell this thing works. Alright, so we're back from the store. Got hopefully everything I need to finally wrap this thing up and move on to something else. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing wired up and let her rip and see how it goes. Alright, so just back from the store. Got some wire, a couple extra tools to help fasten the heater to the floor. So hopefully we can get this wrapped up and see how it works. Well, that's pretty convenient. If you have something hooked up and the fuse is gone or blown, it'll let you know. Oh boy. Well, this is a good sign. So I've got it all hooked up and the display turned on. Alright. I'm just going to take a hot minute and rejoice in the fact that so far everything seems to be okay. Okay, so the pump's trying to pump. You can actually start to see diesel flowing through the tube. So when you look on YouTube, there's several videos that talk about how to prime it. The method that I found didn't seem to work with mine. The directions say, operation control, after the installation the heater shall be turned on repeatedly for a few times to make the fuel tube full filled, so as to avoid starting failure due to lacking fuel. So I suspect we'll probably have to do it again. But it did prime the fuel filter full, and fuel is almost getting up into the pump now. So progress. So this has my current temperature at 15 to 16 degrees Celsius, whatever that is. Alright, so fuel's coming out the other side of the pump now. We're starting to. Still a lot of air, it looks like.